Level 1, mainstream art house. Honestly, it's kind of debatable whether or not these movies actually count as art house movies, but whatever you want to call them, the point is that these are a good gateway into the whole world of art house movies. You could watch these with your grandma. If you're having a movie night with a bunch of your friends or something, you could throw on one of these movies and pretty much everyone's gonna have a good time. Parasite. I think this is one of the best examples of a movie that's gonna satisfy the movie nerd art house crowd, but it's also gonna satisfy your roommate who never really watches movies. Not only is it an extremely well-made piece of cinema, but it's also incredibly entertaining and thrilling. Pretty much anyone can get behind this movie. I'm sure you've already seen Parasite by this point, but if you haven't, then you need to go watch it ASAP. You need to log off YouTube right now, get off social media, and go watch this masterpiece. Burning. Now, after you get done watching Parasite, if you want to keep going down the rabbit hole of Korean cinema, there's a lot of great movies you can watch, but I think Burning is one of the best movies to watch right after Parasite. Great movie. I absolutely love Burning. The only thing with Burning, it is a little bit slow paced, so if you watch this with your buddies, there is a chance that they're going to think that the movie is a little bit boring, but I personally think that the movie, while it is slow, it is one of those movies that's slow but not in a boring way. It is really entertaining because there's constant tension being built up. I think it's an incredible movie, very similar themes as Parasite. Definitely check this one out. Arrival, and I'll admit this is definitely kind of a stretch including this as an art house movie, because you could make an argument that this is pretty much just a sci-fi blockbuster, but I'm including it in here because I actually think that this is one of the best middle grounds you can find between a blockbuster and an art house movie. If you have any friends who are maybe they're like really big Star Wars fans, really big Marvel fans, you kind of want to start having more interesting movie nights, but you don't want to go too far down the deep end just yet, Arrival is a really good movie to pick. Anora, kind of like how Arrival is a really good bridge between sci-fi blockbusters and art house movies, I think Anora is a really good bridge between rom-coms and art house. Sean Baker did such a great job crafting this beautiful romantic fairy tale, but then you also get to see that facade come crumbling apart. I think this movie really works. Great movie, and if you like this, check out some of Sean Baker's other stuff. I really love the Florida Project as well. Uncut Gems, and for some reason, this is actually somewhat of a risky movie to throw on a movie night, because when I first watched this movie, I thought it was just a banger. I thought most people would love this movie, but then I talked to some of my friends, and apparently they hated this movie, and then I go look it up on the internet, and apparently Uncut Gems is actually somewhat controversial. Like, a lot of people really don't like this movie for some reason. I don't really get why. I think this movie absolutely rips. Super entertaining thriller, intense from start to finish. It's kind of dipping its toes a little bit into art house, but at the same time, it is also kind of a popcorn movie. Challengers, and on the surface, this does kind of seem a bit of a dumb movie. It's this love triangle tennis movie with this industrial techno soundtrack, a little bit campy, super fun to watch. I'm not saying any of that as a bad thing, but it's a little cheesy, it's a little dumb. But at the same time, Luca Guadagnino elevates it with this amazing cinematography and this weird non-linear narrative. I love Challengers. I think it's a really fun time. I don't think everyone's going to vibe with it, but I do think this is a good middle ground between art house movies and a crowd pleaser. Annihilation. This is pretty much the tutorial movie for Tarkovsky's Stalker. If you're having a movie night and you really want to watch Stalker, but you think that your buddies might not really like it might just be a little too slow, it might be a little bit too out there, Annihilation is a good way to go, because it's basically Stalker, except it has mutant bears and Natalie Portman and all this crazy stuff. This is just a good movie to go with if you're not trying to go too far down the rabbit hole just yet. Level 2, the classics. These are movies that are widely considered to be all-time great classics, but let's be honest, if you're having a movie night with your friends, there is a good chance that they're going to just find these movies a little bit boring. But if you have movie nerd friends, they're going to be down with this. They're going to have a good time. People who really appreciate cinematography and the art of filmmaking, they will definitely like these movies. 2001: A Space Odyssey, arguably Stanley Kubrick's magnum opus. The only thing with this movie is that it requires a lot of patience to sit through it. Maybe don't show it to your ADHD friends, but if you got a movie nerd buddy who for some reason hasn't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey yet, they're probably gonna love it just for how amazing the cinematography is and the crazy story and all the themes and how thought-provoking this movie is. Obviously, it's an all-time classic for a reason. Amazing movie. Barry Lyndon. After you get done watching 2001: A Space Odyssey, you gotta go check out Barry Lyndon, because a lot of people say 2001 has some of the best cinematography of all time, which it does. But I would argue that Barry Lyndon is actually Stanley Kubrick's best looking movie. Every frame in this movie looks like a Renaissance painting. I'm definitely not the first person to describe this movie that way, but that is really the most accurate way you can put it. The Battle of Algiers. Now, this is a very heavy movie, okay? You have to be in the right mood to watch this, but if you're interested in watching one of the best historical movies ever made, definitely check this one out. It's not going to make you happy, okay? You're not going to be in a good mood after you watch this movie, but it might just open up your eyes to the ways of the world. Bicycle Thieves. Now, I'll admit, the first time I watched this movie was way back in the day during my high school history class. And you know how whenever you're supposed to watch a movie during school, it just kind of takes away from the experience a little bit because you're not choosing to watch the movie. You're kind of just is part of the curriculum. But in this case, I was actually excited to go to class and watch this movie because it's just that good. It's very simple, but very entertaining. I think almost anyone could get down with this movie. It's just a very good piece of film history. Check it out. The 400 Blows. If you want to see a movie that was made on a shoestring budget, but then it ended up becoming one of the most influential movies of all time, definitely check this one out. It came out well over half a century ago, but it still holds up to this day. It'll bring you back to your childhood. It's a very powerful movie. Beau Travail. It's a movie about the French Foreign Legion. It's got amazing cinematography, interesting themes, but one of the reasons you really got to check this out is because it has one of the best needle drops of all time. Level 3, surreal movies. Okay, so now we're starting to get into the territory of movies you probably wouldn't want to watch with your grandma. I mean, it does depend on your grandma. Like, maybe your grandma would be down with these movies, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? It's like if you watch these movies with a group of friends, you're probably going to get one of two reactions. The first one is going to be, well, that was really weird. What did you just make me watch, dude? And then the other reaction you're going to get is like, that was amazing, dude. Like, that was insane, mind-bending. Blue Velvet. I think out of all of David Lynch's movies, this is the perfect entry point because it's basically like a Hitchcock movie, but with a little bit of the trademark David Lynch surrealism in it, but it's not that much. It's not as much as compared to some of his other movies. Mulholland Drive. I never shut up about this movie because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's David Lynch's best work. It's a really good one to watch after Blue Velvet because this one dials up the surrealism and the weirdness a little bit, but it's not even as crazy as David Lynch's movies get. So if you really like Mulholland Drive, you can then go down the David Lynch rabbit hole, and if you thought that Mulholland Drive was weird, wait until you check out Inland Empire. Angel's Egg, and I'll admit that I don't really know that much about anime. It's a bit of a blind spot for me, but Angel's Egg is definitely the best anime movie I've ever seen personally. I think it's an amazing movie, and if you're a fan of Dark Souls and other FromSoft games, you definitely will probably like Angel's Egg because it has a very similar vibe. Persona. Now, Ingmar Bergman has a lot of great movies that are definitely worth checking out. I do think Persona is his best movie. Some people might disagree with that. I think it's an amazing movie. One of the best examples of using lighting, blocking, and shadows to tell the story. It's one of those movies where it's more about the symbolism. Like, the visuals tell the story more so than the actual script. Some people don't like that, but this movie is an absolute trip. I really didn't even get it the first time I watched it. It took me like 3 times to kind of understand this movie. If that sounds lame to you, then you probably won't like this movie. But if you're into that sort of thing, definitely check out Persona. All That Jazz, and even if you're not a musical person, you should definitely check out All That Jazz. I don't really like musicals, they're not my thing, but I absolutely love All That Jazz. The musical numbers are absolutely incredible in this, but here's the thing that really sells it for me compared to other musicals, is that the musical numbers are actually part of the story. Like, it's not just like random people breaking out in song and dance in the middle of a regular conversation. No, like, the movie is about a musical theater director, so all of the musical numbers are actually baked into the story, inherently speaking, and it's just a crazy movie. Like, I can't even explain. It's just some of the best editing ever, and has a really interesting story. It's got the same actor as the guy from Jaws, and I think this is actually his best performance. Definitely worth checking out. Level 4, edgy movies. Now, these are movies that you definitely don't want to watch with your grandma. Even if your grandma actually does like these types of movies on her own time, it would still just be kind of uncomfortable watching with her. Like, in general, these are the types of movies they usually don't make for the best movie night. Climax by Gaspar Noé, and he's definitely a director known for being a little bit of an edgelord. A lot of his movies are said to be edgy for the sake of being edgy. Climax is definitely no exception to that. It's pretty much just an unhinged fever dream with a lot of violence and dancing sequences. And the dancing sequences are really cool. The movie is honestly kind of dumb. Like, there's actually not that much substance to it, but there's just something about the vibe of this movie. I don't really know what it is, but for some reason, I really enjoyed it. Possession. This is a horror movie from the 1980s. Pretty sure that this thing got banned in a bunch of different countries when it came out, and I can definitely see why, because this movie is way over the top. It's an insane movie. I will say a lot of people probably won't even like the movie just because the acting performances are so intentionally over the top to the point where it's almost cheesy. Like, the movie is actually so over the top that it's kind of silly, but it is a very edgy movie. I personally like it. Eyes Wide Shut. This is pretty much the quintessential example of a movie that you do not want to watch it with your parents or your kids. But if you have a fascination with secret societies and cults and stuff like that, definitely check out Eyes Wide Shut if you haven't already seen it. Requiem for a Dream. And this movie is pretty much a glorified public service announcement. But I gotta say, it's gotta be one of the most well-made public service announcements of all time. I love the editing in this movie. The music is fantastic. A lot of people watch this movie and say they were traumatized after it. I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I think most of you can probably handle it. Most of you have probably already seen it, but if you haven't seen it and if you've gotten this far in the video, I assume you could probably handle this movie. I think it's worth checking out. Videodrome. And this movie just has bad vibes, man. And I say that actually in a good way. The movie is intentionally having bad vibes. You're supposed to feel a little uncomfortable watching this. This movie is very gruesome, but it's also extremely fascinating. So if you have some sort of morbid curiosity or that type of person, you'll probably like Videodrome. It's kind of a rough watch, but not necessarily in a bad way. You might be into that sort of thing. Level 5, campy movies. These are the types of movies where if you showed it to a random sample of the population, a lot of them are going to just think that the movie is incredibly stupid. But the more film savvy people in the crowd, they would get it. Like, they would see some of the artistry. House. This is a 1970s Japanese horror movie. I don't even really know how to describe it. It's just one of the wackiest movies I've ever seen, but in the best way possible. I've heard people describe this movie as, it's basically like if there was a live action Scooby-Doo cartoon on Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Suspiria. This is another really wacky horror movie from the 1970s. Honestly has some of the worst acting I've ever seen in a movie, to the point where it's almost a comedy. Like, this movie is so ridiculous and it's kind of hard to take it seriously. It's not scary at all. But at the same time, it has absolutely amazing Technicolor and some of the best sets I've ever seen in a movie. This thing is insanely memorable. Like, every aspect of this movie, it's either some of the worst filmmaking you've ever seen or some of the best filmmaking you've ever seen. It's like there's no middle ground. Sanctuary. This is a semi-recent movie. It's one of those movies where the entire thing pretty much takes place in one room. It's almost being completely carried by the script and the acting performances. And I do think the actors were doing a really good job, but their job was to be kind of over the top and a little bit cheesy, a little bit campy. I think it's a really entertaining movie. It is kind of silly. And if you need a selling point on why you should watch this movie, it's got Margaret Qualley playing a dominatrix. I think that's all I really need to say. Greener Grass, and I'll admit, I have been very harsh on this movie in previous videos. Some would even say that I'm a Greener Grass hater. Okay, maybe I was a little bit too harsh on this movie, but how I would describe it is that the filmmakers went into it with the intention of, how can we make the craziest movie ever made? Like, we have to be the weirdest movie ever. And I don't know, it just felt a little bit try hard to me. I don't know, I guess maybe I have now gone into the territory of that grandma that you don't show David Lynch movies to, but I'm just like that with Greener Grass. I don't know, I thought the movie was a little bit too try hard, but you should check it out yourself and form your own opinion on it. Let me know if you're actually able to sit through the entire thing. That is my challenge to you. All right, those are the 5 levels of art house movies. And obviously the examples I use, that's just scratching the surface. So let me know in the comments which art house movies that I didn't talk about would you include on the list, and tell me what level they would belong in.